Hello YouTubers, this is Cessna Ace back again with another mega LaserDisc ads video. I know I uploaded one of these just last night, but I thought I'd go ahead and do another one since Thanksgiving is rapidly approaching and I won't be able to do another video for several more days. So I figured I would go ahead and pick up where I left off last night, and that's with the original Star Trek series. This is the way the original series was first released on home video in the US under the banner Television Classics. On VHS there were 5 volumes. Strangely on CED there were 6. The LaserDisc database only has 1 volume on the LaserDisc format, but they did subsequently release the entire series on LaserDisc in the US, 2 episodes per volume. This disc, by the way, was made at 2 different facilities, so it's possible to come across a copy made by Pioneer's Japanese facility or a copy made by Pioneer's US facility. This one was made by their US facility. The entire original series was released here in 2 episode volumes, and they also released the complete animated series in a box set, and they released the entire Next Generation series in 2 episode volumes, and they started to do the same thing with Deep Space Nine, but only got as far as I believe it was episode 60, but 2 episodes per disc. In Japan they came out with seasonal box sets. They had the box set for the animated series, but they also had seasonal box sets for the original series, for the Next Generation, for Deep Space Nine, and for the first 5 seasons of Voyager. There are also some documentaries and Star Trek specials on LaserDisc. Some were released only in the US and some only in Japan. Anyway, Paramount Home Video Release LV60041. For the longest time, Star Trek was the only series to have 2 pilots. That had never happened before, and it was a long time before it happened again. At the time that the first pilot was made, a typical 1-hour dramatic series episode cost between $180,000 and $225,000 for each episode. The original Star Trek pilot cost $650,000. Surprisingly, NBC ordered a second pilot. With strict budgetary restraints, they were only able to spend about $250,000 on the second pilot. But you can see why, after it went to series, they wanted to recycle as much of the footage that they had paid for on the first pilot. So the Menagerie used new footage plus a lot of footage from The Cage, the original pilot. They would subsequently release The Cage on LaserDisc twice. The first time was kind of a hybrid. It was a combination of black and white and color. The color footage was all the footage that had been used in the Menagerie. The black and white footage was all the other footage, and for a long time that was the only footage thought to exist. You know, the black and white. But then they came across a color print, and they released it on LaserDisc again, all in color. Now I can't remember which one it is, but one of those LaserDisc releases is listed at the LaserDisc database as pending, meaning no one has proven that it exists yet, but I know it exists because I used to own both of them. But when Paramount started releasing Star Trek on DVD, I sold my entire complete collection of Star Trek and Star Trek The Next Generation that I had on LaserDisc so that I could afford to buy the DVDs. But I've gone back to buying the LaserDiscs that available for sale at yesterday and today out at the flea market. The Man Trap and Charlie X. Paramount released these not in production order, but in broadcast order, and The Man Trap was the first one broadcast. Unfortunately, the jackets aren't all in pristine condition, so there's that. Paramount Home Video Release LV60040-81. And just so you don't think, I'm trying to pull a fast one by showing the same one twice. I have two copies of the same one because I bought one copy and then I came across a copy in better condition. The jacket was in better condition. Now we have the second pilot, Where No Man Has Gone Before. That should have been the first episode aired, but it wasn't. The Naked Time. There was a sequel to The Naked Time in the first year of Star Trek The Next Generation. That was called The Naked Now, by the same author. Paramount Home Video Release LV60040-82. No, not every LaserDisc I'm going to show you in this video is Star Trek. Tomorrow is Yesterday and Court Martial. Now, I don't know if she still does, but Nichelle Nichols used to relate how when she met Dr. Martin Luther King Jr., he mentioned that he would only let his kids watch Star Trek. It was the only television show he'd let them watch, because Star Trek would cast black, Hispanic, Asian actors to play parts that were normally played by white actors. The only thing is Star Trek didn't ever bring it up, except for when they got preachy with episodes like Let This Be Your Last Battlefield, or whatever it was called. Can't remember if I said LV60040-89. The Return of the Archons and Space Seed. Of course, there was a sequel of sorts to the Space Seed, otherwise known as Star Trek II: The Wrath of Khan. Paramount Home Video Release LV60040-90. Okay, standards and practices. Big no-no. You don't go after the Vietnam War. You don't talk about the Vietnam War. But Star Trek did. They just did it under disguise. And one of the episodes that did that was A Taste of Armageddon. This Side of Paradise. In fact, when Paramount first approached Roddenberry to do Star Trek The Next Generation, he had so much hassle. He had gotten so much hassling from NBC's standards and practices. He said, "Oh, no, you don't. I'm not going through that again." "Oh, no, we're going to release it first run syndication. There's no standards and practices involved." That was the only way they got him to do it. Okay, some people usually derisively, refer to Star Trek as Lost in Space with a PhD. Who Mourns for Adonis was written by a university professor whose specialty was mythology. Greek mythology, if I remember correctly. And of course, The Changeling was reworked into Star Trek the Motion Picture. V'ger is basically a big budget version of The Changeling. That college or university professor's name was Gilbert Ralston. If I didn't already, Paramount Home Video Release LV60040-95. I don't know why so many of these have water damage on the rear of the jacket. This one does. That's why I have been getting duplicate copies on some of them. Come across a better one, I get the better one. I keep the original. Now there's something about one of the photos on this one. I'll see if you can catch it. It's not as obvious because part of the photo is cropped off. But the episodes on this disc are Journey to Babel and Friday's Child. Speaking of Friday's Child, it took me years before I noticed that one of the knives is poised to emasculate Captain Kirk. One false move and slice. That's what you call it. Ouch. Okay, episode. I told you what the episodes were. Paramount Home Video Release LV60040-99. The Way to Eden and The Cloudminders. Now, The Way to Eden features in the cast Charles Napier. He plays one of the hippies. In the Blues Brothers, he played the head of the band, the Good Old Boys, who's chasing after the Blues Brothers. So from hippie to racist. Paramount Home Video Release LV60040-118. I just happened to think, I believe that actor there was in True Grit, the version with John Wayne. The Savage Curtain and All Our Yesterdays, which featured in the cast Mary Hartley. She would go on to feature prominently in not just one, but I believe two pilots that Gene Roddenberry produced in the 70s that have been released on DVD by Warner Archive. Planet Earth was one of them. I don't remember the name of the other one. If you ever have watched the original Star Trek series, just before the Paramount logo at the end, and produced in association with Norway Corporation, all of the pilots that Gene Roddenberry produced in the 70s were produced in cooperation with Norway Corporation, which makes me think, well, that might have been something Gene Roddenberry had his hand in. Okay, and as there were an odd number of episodes, the final disc has only one episode on it. Turnabout Intruder. This episode gave Shatner a chance to really ham it up, as in the story, her personality and soul and everything is transferred into his body. So he prances around quite a bit. In fact, I would venture to say that his performance is not exactly what you would call politically correct by today's standards. I only have the first volume of Star Trek The Next Generation thus far. I used to have the whole series, but at least this jacket is in much better condition than the original series jackets I've run across so far. Paramount Home Video release LV 40270-721. In syndication, this is shown as a two-parter. However, when it originally aired on home video, it's basically a feature-length made-for-TV movie. This is a UK release, but made not by PDO UK, made by Pioneer Japan. Star Trek The Next Generation Redemption. There are actually a lot of the two-parters that were released in other countries on LaserDisc. So a lot of jackets to collect. Well, discs too, but I can't play PAL discs currently. Okay, this is Pioneer release PLTEB 34341. I already have a copy of this. Now I have another one. In fact, I may have 3 copies of this. Con. Oh. I know, that was pathetic. Paramount Home Video release LV1180-WS. WS for widescreen. I was looking for the aspect ratio, but I didn't see it. Star Trek V, The Final Frontier. Paramount Home Video release LV32044-WS. Okay, this version is different from the version released theatrically. Or at least the ending is. in widescreen. I won't give it away, but when Roddenberry was first shown the final cut, he didn't like something, and they changed it just to please him. But for home video, they released the version they had originally done. That's the special home video version. Thanks again to Debbie of ABC Lasers. I have a ton of silent films on LaserDisc. It's from Image Entertainment. A lot of theirs are in this silver design jacket. Steamboat Bill Jr., starring Buster Keaton. I prefer to find them where they used elements from Black Hawk films, and they did so here. Jackie Chan has said in interviews that he's a big Buster Keaton fan. Harold Lloyd too, because they both did their own stunts. This is Image Entertainment release ID 7363DS. Okay, Tales from the Crypt presents Bordello of Blood. And widescreen even. I know vampire movies are really big right now. This, as I said, is letterboxed. Serves its original theatrical aspect ratio of 1.85 to 1. Colored with Dolby Surround rather, digital sound. MCA Universal Home Video Release 43121. Okay, I already have a copy of this. Oh, what the hey, it's only $3. Tango and Cash. And it's in beautiful condition. In widescreen from Warner Home Video. Preserves its original scope aspect ratio, but it doesn't say what it is. This is Warner Home Video release 11951. Man, they want 2 copies of Tango and Cash. That's nuts. I have 3 copies of the same release of A Few Good Men. Of course, that release is problematic. Okay, from CBS Fox, Target, from CBS Productions. CBS Fox video release 7097-80. Okay, this is part of the Criterion collection, which was a joint venture between Voyager Press and Janus Films. Taxi Driver. Some things I like about the Criterion collection. First of all, they were the ones that got the whole bonus features thing going. They licensed films from other studios and they would release them with running commentary tracks and in the original aspect ratio and with behind the scenes stuff and so forth. And it got to the point where they were successful enough at it that the studios themselves said, hey, wait a minute, we could be doing that. But also like how they would list the printing. This is the first printing. And they also would number their releases, starting with number 1. This is release 109A. Many of their releases had a CLV release and a CAV release. They didn't want to spend the big bucks for the CAV version. Obviously licensed from RCA Columbia Pictures Home Video. The digital tracks have the film soundtrack. Analog track 1 has the film soundtrack. Analog track 2 has the music track isolated. So it's like a free soundtrack album. I have quite a few Criterion collection releases, but not enough. And while I have numerous releases and copies of Terminator 2 on LaserDisc, this is my first copy of the Terminator on LaserDisc. In widescreen. Okay. From Image Entertainment, catalog reference number ID 8316 HD for Hindale. Image licensed everything they could get their hands on from every company they can get. Okay, this is at least the third LaserDisc that I have of Terminator 2 Judgment Day, but I have it in widescreen and I have it full screen. This one is full screen. This is live home video release LD 68952-2. The 2 designation for the fact that it's on 2 discs. a gatefold jacket, the spine of which I'm trying very hard not to crack. Okay, getting close to 30 minutes, so might do one or two more. I first got in the habit of buying duplicate copies so that I have copies to trade with other people. And then for a while there were people on YouTube that were trading with me. But one of the main ones that was doing that closed his channel time after time. In widescreen. Preserves its original aspect ratio of 2.35 to 1 and includes the original theatrical trailer. I didn't see this one in the theater when the first time I saw it on HBO actually. But I thought to myself, that's a really good movie. This is Warner Home Video release 22031. Okay, I'm going to stop with this one. This one is a really problematic release. A lot of people have flagged this as being defective at the LaserDisc database. I haven't tried it yet. Titanic. You would think a major release like this, and THX certified on top of that, and when they released THX certified films on LaserDisc, they had to be produced at a THX certified manufacturing facility. Really, really sad that this was made at a facility that didn't have a tech together. This has 3 different logos on it. The Lightstorm Entertainment logo, 20th Century Fox logo, and the Paramount logo. I know some co-productions, one company will get the home video release and the other the theatrical release. That's what happened with the Steven Spielberg film 1941. They did a coin toss between the two companies that financed it, Columbia Pictures and Universal. And Universal thought they won that coin toss because they got all the revenue from the domestic release. Columbia won as far as money earned from overseas. It barely broke even here in the US, but made a lot more money overseas. A lot more to do, but I'm going to stop now. Until next time, stay awesome.